About, first of all, just one point here I skipped yesterday. If you take a look at back on 106, just one point over there before we go on, page 106. So it says, "Vatama Sarah b'kiryas arba Chevron," second line from the top. Vayovo Avraham lispo l'Sarah v'livko. So Avraham comes to eulogize Sarah and cry for her. So it says the word Vayovo Avram. According to some, Vayovo Avram means he went inside. He didn't want to make a public spectacle of his crying. But you look at Rashi for 1 second. It's the right column of Rashi. Right column of Rashi, 4 lines from the bottom. On page 106. Right column, 4 lines from the bottom. Vayovo Avram mi Be'er-Sheva. He came from Beersheba. So Avram came from Beersheba after the Akeidah. He went to Beersheba, then he came to Hebron to eulogize and bury Sarah. The Medrash says he came from Har HaMoriah, which is where the Akeidah came from. And there's another Medrash that says he came from the burial of Terach, his own father. So you got 3 different opinions where he came from. Either Beersheba, or he came straight from Har HaMoriah, which is where the Akeidah took from, or he came from the burial of Terach. Now make up your mind. So one of the Mefarshim says, look, literally, he came from Beersheba. That's where he was. He was in Beersheba, and he came from Beersheba. But when you eulogize somebody, what's a eulogy? Avram came to eulogize. I mean, you talk about them. When you eulogize somebody, you talk about them, right? So when he said his eulogy, where was he coming from? It's like sometimes somebody says something outlandish, you say, where are you coming from? Where are you coming from? So Avram Avinu, when he said his eulogy, where was he coming from? So one opinion is that he was coming from the burial of Terach, meaning Terach was an idol worshiper. He even he manufactured and sold idols. And an entire world of Terach type people. Who buried that ideology? It was Avraham Avinu. How did he do it? He had to have the support of his wife. You know, she was a full partner in this project. So when he was eulogizing her, where was he coming from when he eulogized her? He came from the burial of Terach. She was my partner in the burial of Terach. Take a Chumash, Alicia, page 106. She was my partner in burying that ideology. My battle against the pagan world, she was a partner. That was part of his eulogy. The other part of the eulogy was he's coming from Mount Moriah. If you have a son, you know, the Medrash says that when they went up to the mountain, Yitzchak was 37 years old. 37 years old, and he realizes, take a Chumash. Take Chumashim, guys. Always take Chumashim. There are plenty of Chumashim on the shelf over there. They want to be used. A 37-year-old son, and the father's about to shech him, well, you know, he could probably overpower his father. Like, Dad, you know, what are we doing today? Well, we're going to have a sacrifice. Really? Yeah, you. I'm not, what's the expression to use? I'm not down for it. Yeah. So Yitzchak instead, what did he say to Avraham Avinu? He said, tie me up well so I don't jerk and ruin the, if you shecht an animal and you don't shecht it properly, so you've invalidated the offering. Yitzchak, the Medrash says, he said to Avraham, make sure you tie me up good so that I don't invalidate the offering. And he's willing to go and have himself offered. Who instilled that value into Yitzchak that he's allowed to go and have, that he's willingly going to die because this is God's command? His mother, Sarah Imena. So where is he coming from in the eulogy? From Har HaMoriah. He's praising her that she is the mother who instilled that value into her child. And guys, let's call a spade a spade. When it comes to training kids in the house, the men think they're the big hawkers, right? At the end of the day, it comes from the mother. At the end of the day, it comes from the mother. The mother has much more influence on the child. The father has to be an example, and hopefully not too bad an example. Shouldn't set a bad example. But I know a kid who said to his father, "Dad, I think you got a drinking problem." His father decked him. which obviously means what? He had a drinking problem.
Got a problem with
He obviously had a drinking problem. The father decked him. He said, Dad, you got to, by us, when I say, hey, Dad, we got a drinking problem, that meant that the Pepsi wasn't on sale that week. I said, Dad, we got a drinking problem. You got a drinking problem. Hopefully the father will be set a good example. But if the father, I heard about a guy, this kid got caught in school. He took a wallet out of another kid's briefcase from school. So the teacher says, hey, I'm taking you, he caught him red-handed. He said, I'll take you to the principal's office. The kid said, okay. He says, you don't seem too nervous about it. I said, I'm not. He takes me to the principal. The principal says, you're in big trouble. He says, yeah. He says, you don't seem too nervous about it. I'm not. He says, I'm going to call your father. He says, yeah. He says, you don't seem too nervous about it. I said, I'm not. He says, why not? He says, because my father walks around all day bragging about how much he rips off the IRS. He'll be proud of me. Now, the father won't be proud, because in the father's mind, there's a difference between cheating the IRS and taking a wallet out of somebody's briefcase, even though halachically there isn't, by the way. Halachically, you can't cheat the IRS.
You can or can't?
Cannot. Now, let's make sure we all get that clear. You cannot cheat the IRS. Let's make sure we got that clear. So, but the kid sees that's what the father does, so that's what the kid does. So who instills the value? The value, who spends more time around the kids? The mother spends more time around. I usually, when I get called, sometimes I'll get called from a father calls me up, he's having trouble with the kid. So I'll usually say, let me talk to your wife. So this one guy once calls me up, and he says, you have a kid, what, you have a problem? I said, let me talk to your wife. He said, why? I said, because she knows the kids better than you do. She said to me, what makes you think so? So I said, what's your second son's favorite lunch? Oh, let me talk to your wife. Right? I should have asked her, what's your second son's name? Probably wouldn't have been happy to have got that one right. So the value in Yitzchak was instilled by an Avraham Avinu. He's the one who instilled the value. I had my son, I don't know if I told you, I once had, my son was like, my oldest son, he was going to the Cheder here in Israel, and is a good kid who did exactly what he had to do, but not an iota more. So I wanted, like many fathers, I wanted this kid, to only speak Aramaic, and and be immersed and become the next Reb Chaim Kanievsky, of course. So I wanted him. He was in 7th grade, I think. I wanted him to join this after-school Mishnayos program. So I said, you want to go? He goes, nah. He wasn't into it. He did what he had to do. He got good grades. He wasn't into it. So I said, I'll tell you what. If you go to the after-school Mishnayos program, I'll buy you a new set of Chumashim. Like that. I said, okay. I'll buy you, that really nice Mishnah Berurah, say, like that. Then my wife is standing behind him, and she's doing like this. And I'm like, she goes, I'll get you that 21-speed bicycle that you wanted. What time does the Mishnayos program start? All of a sudden, they know you got to talk the kid's language. Who instills the value in the kid? Who instills the value? It's the mother. What is Avraham Avinu is eulogizing her? He's coming from Har HaMoriah. How can you get a kid to go and what do you call it? That's the influence of the mother. Okay, now, Avraham Avinu, I want to ask you a question, gentlemen. Avraham Avinu comes, she dies. And now he starts negotiating with, I want to just point out, as he talks to these people, take a look at how he talks to them. In Pasuk Zayin, right? In Pasuk Zayin. So, yeah. Vayakam Avram vayishtachu la'amoretz livnei ches. He bows to them. He curtsies. And then he speaks to Ephron. And then he says, Vayishtachu Avram lifnei Amar. It's again on page 108, the third line from the top. And he says, I'm negotiating with you. I'll give you this, I'll give you that. Adoni shma'eni. Vayishma Avram. The whole time he's talking to them. And he's trying to buy this cave. And eventually Ephron asks an exorbitant price. And Avram gives him the exorbitant price. Now, I want to ask you a question. Imagine you go in, you get called in by the boss. I'm just giving you an example. You get called in by the boss, and he tells you, by the way, there are going to be some layoffs in the company. We're laying you off next week. We don't go, boy. So then you call home to tell your wife. And your wife says to you, oh, wow. Now, by the way, she says her mother's coming for a week and a half visit. You go, oh, man. right? Hey, your mother-in-law is coming. And then you get on the subway, you start driving home, and your car breaks, they get a flat tire. And you get out of your car, it's a hot day, you start fixing the flat tire, and just then you're in as bad a mood as you could possibly be in, and just then acquaintance comes over and he says, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing, Nachshon?" And you're under the tire over there, right, trying to fix a flat tire after being laid off and being told your mother-in-law is coming for a visit, and it's a hot day, you're sweating, and your car got a flat tire. You say, "How you doing, Nachshon? What's going on?" What do you think your reaction would be? I would pull out the car jack and I put him underneath. That's what I would do. I would replace that car. That's not what I want right now, is a chit-chat with anybody. Okay, look at Avraham Avinu. He just goes through the biggest test ever. His wife dies. And now he's being price gouged. And the entire time he behaves with proper etiquette and proper derech eretz. And we see from here the importance of a person maintaining self-control. This dovetails nicely with what we said yesterday about how Sarah Imenu, in spite of all the difficulties of her life, she was always the same Sarah. That's the challenge of Judaism. The challenge is that we have to go against our nature. The fact that we have an urge, by the way, getting angry. Anger is an urge. You have to control that urge like you control other urges. I have an urge to shoplift. It's an urge, right? You have to control that urge. You're laughing. I think I'd be a good shoplifter, right? Especially with the beard. People would never expect a rabbi to do that. I can get away with anything now. Pickpocketing. I'm intrigued by it, right? It'd be a great parnasa, and what do you call it? 100% profit. I have an urge. You have to control your urge. You have to control your urge to get angry. You have to control your urge to brag. You have to control your urge to be selfish. These are all, but I'm in a bad mood. So, you're in a bad mood. So the world has to suffer because you're in a bad mood. Avraham Avinu, with the ultimate test, and Avraham Avinu behaves, he maintains his derech eretz. And then he buries Sarah. Now, take a look at page 108 at the bottom. The Avraham Zakein Ba Bayamim. There are Chumashim over there. They're on the shelf over there. Plenty of Chumashim. Page 108. The Avraham Zakein Ba Bayamim. Avraham is getting older. Ba Bayamim. He's coming along in days. V'Hashem beirach es Avraham bakol. Hashem has blessed Avraham with everything. So first of all, what does it mean he's coming along in days? Ba Bayamim. He's getting older. So the Mefarshim all say Ba Bayamim means all his days are count. They all count. He's making the most of his days. He's making his days productive. He's getting older. His days are coming. Now the truth is, it should really say the days are going out. As a person gets older, his days are leaving, not coming. As a person gets older, if your days left you or they're coming to you? I would say a child,
we're going to the days though.
You're not going to the day. Are your days leaving you or coming to you? An older person.
It's kind of both.
Kind of both. So which one is it more? Are your days leaving you or your days are coming?
They're leaving.
Your days are leaving. So why does it say Ba Bayamim? The days are leaving. The answer is that a person who is materialistic and a person who's living for this world, his days are leaving him. He's like, whoa, they're all going. And it's like, I go, it's all leaving me because he's living for this world. Ba Bayamim means his days are coming, both in this world, as a person gets older. Like that, huh? As a person gets older, his days are coming. That means he enjoys the days. Because it gets better. The more spiritual you are, the more you enjoy the days, then you got the days of the world to come to look forward to. The person who's materialistic, the older he gets, the more regret he has. Like, oh boy, there's nothing left. All of his drives and they just reported that Nancy Pelosi is the greatest insider trader in history. She started out, they had a report, she started out with $800,000 and now she's made $133 million on the market. She's made double, even more than double, the best hedge funds. So it's either that she's really good at it or that she's cheating. Okay. As I was reading this report, she's 85 years old. Her husband's 88 years old, whatever it is. So they got $133 million. I mean, they're worth $280 million, whatever it is. That's just on the investment. Okay. And, well, you know, but you can't even chew. You don't have teeth. What good is all that going to do you? What good is it going to do you? That's the days are gone. But if somebody who lives properly, Ba Bayamim, you can enjoy those days. Because a person is living for spirituality. Spirituality gets better when you get older, not worse. So Avraham Avinu is getting older, Ba Bayamim. V'Hashem beiraches Avraham HaKol. Hashem has blessed him with everything. Now, there are three different opinions here. There's one opinion that he had a daughter, and her daughter's name was Bakol. Hashem beiraches Avraham, and he had a daughter. What was her name? Bakol. And not only that, we'll see later on in the Parsha when Eliezer goes to go get a shidduch for Yitzchak, Lavan thinks that maybe he'll have a chance to marry Avram's daughter, Bakol. What's that?
Who did he have a daughter with?
It doesn't say. It just says he had a daughter. The Medrash says he had a daughter, Bakol. Just like the other tribes had, all the tribes had a daughter that they married. Could be that she was born with Yitzchak. Doesn't say. The Medrash doesn't say which wife, where she came from. It just says, that's one opinion in the Medrash. The other opinion in it is that the blessing was he didn't have a daughter. Well, that's a difficult statement because daughters are a blessing. You make a bracha when you have a daughter. You make a shechianu. You make a bigger bracha when you have a son. But it doesn't mean that daughters aren't a blessing. They are a blessing because then they can take care of your sons. Right? Daughters are a very big blessing. So you got to marry them off, then you got to come up with the money. But the daughters are always a blessing. So why would it say Hashem blessed Avram by not having a daughter? Why is that a blessing? Why is that a blessing? Good question. And I told you there are no derogatory statements in the Torah against women or against girls at all, ever. Yet the Medrash says that he didn't have a daughter. Oh, excellent, Alicia. The answer is when you're in a generation of pagans and idol worshippers, who are you going to marry your daughter off to? Because the girl's going to be influenced by her husband. She's going to go live with her husband. A Yitzchak will marry the girl and bring her home so then you can develop her. But she is going to go marry a pagan. In such a situation, you're better off not having a daughter. That's what the Mefarshim say. Now, what does he do? Vayomer Avram el avdo Zakein Ba Bayamim hamoshel b'chol asher lo. Avraham says to his servant, the elder of his home, who is in charge of all of his fortune, he's the CEO of Avraham Industries. Simna yadcha tachas yirechi. Put your hand under my thigh. Page 110. Put your hand under my thigh. Ve'ashbiacha b'Hashem elokei hashamayim v'elokei haaretz. I will invoke an oath. I will invoke an oath by God, asher lo sika achisha livni bibnos haknani asher anochi yoshe b'kirbo. I want you to swear you will not take a daughter from the Canaanites. Rather, ki imel artzi v'oladati telech, I want you to go to my birthplace. V'lakachta isha livni liyitzchak from my family. He wants to go to my birthplace to take a family and find a wife for my Yitzchak. Now, the first thing here is that Avraham Avinu has him swear. So where does he swear? He puts his hand under his thigh. So Rashi points out the same way nowadays, how do you swear? You swear with a holy item. The only holy item they had in those days was the bris milah. But he's obviously not putting his hand on his bris milah, putting it under his thigh, symbolically in the region of the bris milah, the same way that you take a Sefer Torah or tefillin to lend a certain severity to the oath. I swear while you're holding a Sefer Torah by a with the tefillin. The same way, or by the Goyim, they take the Bible, right? You swear on a holy Bible. Theoretically, that will make you more relate more severely to the oath. So here too, Avraham Avinu has him put his hand under his thigh. There is a symbolism over here, by the way. That Avraham Avinu is saying to him, "I'm completely in your hands. I'm completely in your hands. Ever see that guy with the he's got the whole world in his hands. The guy's holding the globe. He's got the whole world. So Avraham Avinu is putting his hand under the thigh, symbolically, I'm in your hands.
Why didn't he go himself?
Oh, Avraham Avinu, it says, Zakein Ba Bayamim is an old man. And he can't send Yitzchak himself because Yitzchak was a korban on the Mizbeach. He can't leave Eretz Yisrael. So now what's Avraham Avinu going to do? So he sends Avdo Zakein Beso. Now, Zakein Beso doesn't mean he's old. Zakein Beso means the elder of his home. So Avram is Zakein Ba Bayamim. He's too old to go. And Yitzchak can't go, so what are you going to do? But we're talking about a serious business here. Now I want to ask a question. Let me ask you a question. First of all, he invokes an oath. If I say to you, I want to borrow $10,000, let's say you had it. Would you lend it to me? Okay. Would you get witnesses? No. You'd lend it to me without looking? Without witnesses? Without an IOU? Why, you trust me? Great. Eliezer, can I borrow some money? Well, according to halacha, you can't. According to halacha, you know that when you lend somebody money, even 10 shekels, you have to have an IOU, because otherwise you're putting a stumbling block in front of a blind man.
That's lending, but not like tzedakah.
I'm not talking about tzedakah. I'm talking about lending.
Okay,
Tzedakah you can give. I'm not talking about
I would have.
I'm not talking about lending. If I wanted to borrow $10,000, would you make me? Would you forget the halacha for a second? Would you do it? Would you sign something to make sure that the what do you call it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Again, according to halacha, you can't lend money without an IOU or without witnesses, at least one witness, because the guy could deny it, and you're putting a stumbling block in front of a blind man. And even around trustworthy people, sometimes it's not that I'm malicious. It's just that I might forget.
Right.
And you're gonna come to me and say, "Hey, you owe me 10 shekels." I said, "What are you talking about?"
Right.
And so then I don't mean, I'm an honest guy, but somehow I forgot. And therefore, by shogeg, by unintentionally, I'll be stealing. Okay. $10,000, you would sign and double sign. You get a warrant, and not only that, you'd probably get on a loan. Normally, what do you get? You get a guarantor on a loan. You get a co-signer on a loan. Zach, how much if I wanted $10,000 to borrow $10,000 from you? You were going to lend it to me. What would you do? You'd get a co-signer?
Well, I would get collateral.
Collateral, a co-signer, something. Okay. What about if you want to go to a restaurant here in Israel and you're not sure about the hechsher? Let's say you want to go to a restaurant here in Israel and you come over and you're not sure about the hechsher. So you come to me and you ask me, is such and such, or you see a friend of yours and you say to him, is that restaurant, the hechsher, reliable? And your friend says, yeah, it's a reliable hechsher. I eat there all the time. Would you trust them?
Yeah.
Usually, yeah. You see, what about if you don't have tefillin? You don't have tefillin, you forgot your tefillin. Would you borrow your friend's tefillin? Yeah, sure. Not only that, you can borrow it without asking. Do you know anything about the standard of kashrus of your friend's tefillin? Do you know where he got them? Do you know where he bought them? Do you know how he paid for them? Do you know if this guy who wrote them was reliable? What that means is when it comes to money, all of a sudden, we take every precaution in the world. When it comes to spiritual stuff, as long as he's eating it or if he's tefillin, spiritual stuff, we're much more trustworthy, aren't we? Look at Avraham Avinu does the opposite. When it comes to his finances, so this is the slave, Eliezer, his slave, it says, Hamoshel b'chol asher lo. Eliezer is the guy in charge of his entire estate. All his finances are in Eliezer's hands. But when it comes to something spiritual, he's got to find a wife for Yitzchak. This is already a mitzvah. There, I want you to swear. Not taking any chances here. Exactly the opposite. When it comes to your tefillin, I should tell you, Nachshon, where did you get them? How much should you pay? Who was the scribe? How long have you had them? When it comes to a loan, I should say, yeah, here, take the money. You're good for it. When it comes to money, what do we focus on more? On the material, all of a sudden, we take all the precautions.
So what was the buying the plot of land? Was it a financial?
Forget the plot of land. Be sorry to get to the plot of land. I'm not on the plot of land now. He's sending Eliezer to go off to find a wife. He trusts, so the Torah describes him, he's the guy in charge of Avram's money and his finances. Doesn't say any, no oversight, nothing. Yet when it comes to going and getting a wife for Yitzchak, there I want you to swear you're going to do it. Why? Because that's a spiritual pursuit. Spiritual pursuit is more serious. Spiritual is a serious business here. Now, number one. Number two.
Rabbi, can we retract real quick?
Yeah.
So you're saying that the spiritual is more important. The spiritual for Avraham was finding Yitzchak a wife.
That's spiritual.
That's spiritual.
And there he tells the slave to swear. I'm not taking any chances. When it comes to the guy who's going to supervise Avram's finances, that he puts it in the hands of Eliezer. That he's not worried about.
No, he put the hands in Eliezer for Yitzchak, right?
No. Again. Look at the pasuk. Look at the pasuk. Let's read the pasuk again. I know. Now we're going to get unconfused.
Eliezer's talking to
One second. Your confusion is from. Trust me. Trust me. We're talking about trust right now. Trust me. Okay, spiritual trust. Here we go. Read bottom of page 108. Let's read it again. The Avraham Zakein Ba Bayamim. Avram is old and he is coming along in age. V'Hashem beirach es Avram akol. Hashem is blessed with abundance. That's the plain meaning. We say in branching, bakol mikol kol, right? Bakol refers to Avram Avinu's blessings. Mikol refers to Yitzchak's blessings, and Bakol, Mikol, Kol refers to Yaakov. Because each one there's a pasuk. By Avram it says Bakol, Bakol, Mikol, Kol. Right? That Bakol, Mikol, Kol is talking about the blessings to the Avos. Avram was Bakol, Yitzchak is Mikol, and Yaakov is Kol, and that means everything. Now, the pasuk says, Elisha, you with me?
Yeah.
Vayomer Avram el Avdo Zakein Beso. Avram says to his slave, the elder of his home, Hamoshel Bechol Asher Lo, who is in charge of everything that belongs to Avraham Avinu. Simna Yodcha Tachli. Now he tells him to swear. And what does he tell him to swear? He doesn't swear that you've been honest with my finances and that you haven't misappropriated, you haven't done any insider trading. He doesn't make him swear about that. He makes him that he trusts him. What does he make him swear? Swear that you won't mess up on this mission. You won't take the wrong wife. You won't take a Canaanite wife. You're going to go to my family. That's what Avraham says. Now, first of all,
Could a non-Jew swear?
Yes. What's the proof? Eliezer swears. So, non-Jews can swear for sure. So Avraham Avinu invokes it, and not only that, it was very heavy for them. They related to it seriously. Now, with severity. Now, the Mefarshim say that you'll notice you need three qualities over here. Avram's looking for three qualities. Very interesting. You're going on a mission, and you're going to go find this girl. On the one hand, you might have to be submissive. What we call diplomatic. You might have to, know how to. On the other hand, you might have to be a bit assertive. And you're also going to need a certain combination of wisdom over here. So Eliezer's got all the qualities. A, he's a slave, so he knows how to be submissive. B, he's Zakein Ba, so he's the elder of the house, so he's got wisdom. And C, he's in charge of the finances, which means he knows how to be assertive. So he's the perfect shliach, the perfect agent for this mission. Now, Avraham Avinu says to him, I don't want you to take a Canaanite because the Canaanites are cursed. They're idol worshippers and they are immoral. I don't want them. I want you to go to my family. Now, Avram's family was also idol worshippers. So they were also idol worshippers. But the difference is that character is transmitted genetically. If the father's rotten, there's a certain amount of genetics certain amount of rot that's transmitted genetically. The Canaanites are out of the running. There's something completely immoral, that immorality is passed down genetically. What about idol worshiping? That already has to do with intellectual faith and what we call emunah. Emunah is not passed down genetically. You're certainly going to be a product of your environment, but you could get out of it by developing your own, like Avraham Avinu himself did. He comes from derech, and Avraham Avinu developed his own emunah, his own trust, his own belief in God, even though he was a product of that school of paganism. So if it's a choice between people who are inherently no good, that's going to be, I don't want a girl from there. That means if it's going to be something, it could be good, but where you're taking a bigger chance. Whereas the other one, you'll take her out of that family. She's not got character deficiency. At worst, she's been raised in an idol worship, so we'll train her. We'll give her the education to not be a pagan. There's more chance. You got a better chance over there. Now, he tells him to go off to the land, and then Eliezer goes off on his mission. Eliezer himself, by the way, has a daughter, and he really is not happy about this mission because he's hoping that Avraham Avinu will have him make a shidduch between Yitzchak and his own daughter. But Avraham Avinu says, listen, you're a Canaanite. You were cursed. When Noach cursed Ham, you were cursed. We're blessed. It's not a shidduch. It's not going to work. So Eliezer goes off on this mission to now go find a wife for Avraham Avinu. Okay. Now, the first shidduch in history. Now, take a look at starting from Pasuk Yud, page 110, 10 lines from the bottom. Okay, then how the fun begins. Vayikach eved asar gemali migmali adav. Everybody see that? 10 lines from the bottom, 9 lines from the bottom, page 110, Pasuk Yud. Vayikach eved asar gemali migmali adonov. He takes 10 camels from his master's camels. Vayelech v'chol tuv adonov biyado. He's got all, how does the article translate that? He's got all the bounty of his master in his hand. Now, how do you have all the bounty of your master? I mean, that's a lot of bounty to have in your hand. So Rashi says he had a document that Avram is transferring all of his property to Yitzchak.
Oh.
So, you know, when you go up to the young lady, you say, hi, I got a shidduch for you. Oh, yeah, very fine young man. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm ready to get married yet. By the way, his father, who's a multi-billionaire, has transferred all of his property to him. He says, you know what, I am been thinking about marriage lately, for the last 10 seconds exactly. So not taking any chances, he's got this document. Vayakam vayelech el Aram Naharaim elir Nochor. He goes off to Aram Naharaim, to the city of Nochor, who is a brother of Avraham Avinu. Vayavrecha gemali michutz la'ir al ber hamayim. So he goes to the well. Now, obviously, he goes to the well because the camels need to drink, but there's another reason you go to the well.
There's where the women hang out.
That's where everybody hangs out.
Oh.
Everybody's going to be at the well. Eventually, like in town, everybody needs water. So you go to the well. Who else goes to the well? Yaakov Avinu goes to the well. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he runs away to Midian, where does he go? He goes to the well. That's where, besides the fact that the well represents life, water is the source of life, and the wife is the source of life, because that's where the child comes from. So he's going to the well. Le'es erev, le'es seis hashovos. And he's going there in the evening, when they're all coming out to draw water. Now, there's an interesting Medrash that says when you're checking out a woman, listen to even how the dogs bark. Hear that? The Medrash says when you're going to check out a wife, you should pay attention even to how the dogs bark. What does that mean? Anybody want to take a guess? Hear that?
Friend? If the men are whistling or things that are...
No.
If the dogs are
What's the dogs barking?
If the dogs don't bark.
Which dogs are we talking about? The dogs, the Medrash says when you're going to check out the qualities of a wife, you should even pay attention to how the dogs are barking.
I had in
Single men.
No.
in Miami where I lived, I would have some guests come over, and I had a little English bulldog named Choco, and some girls he would bark at, some girls he wouldn't. And
That's that. Yeah, well, we don't know which ones yes and which ones no.
he barked at,
We're better looking?
yeah.
No kidding. Even the dog can tell. No, that's not what the Medrash is. That's not what the Medrash is saying. The Medrash is saying a dog is always considered a it kind of even even when you have a situation where somebody says, "Oh, this guy insulted me," I said, "Listen, if a dog barks at you, you have to respond." Sometimes when you want to tell somebody not to respond to something, you say, "If a dog would bark at you, would you respond?" That's generally used in a derogatory manner. A dog is always a symbol of a kind of a lowly creature. I told you, if you want to, there's certain animals, which he's lion-hearted. Ooh, oh, he's a real dog. A dog is generally considered a lowly creature. When you're checking out a woman, a wife, pay attention to even how the gossip mongers, even the lower people are not very nice. The dogs are barking. Just pay attention. Just catch a drift of what they're saying. Where does he go? He goes towards the evening. Because in the evening, you could assume that that's where the gossip mongers are going to be hanging around the well, maybe gossiping a little. Let's hear what's tutzach. Let's hear what's being said over there. And then you got the next one. Look at the next word. Where it is, with the chain over it. Elisha, Vayomar.
Where are we?
5 lines from the bottom. Yeah, so how do you say the word? How do you read it?
Vayomar. I don't know how you do it.
You're good, but a little Vayomar. 3 times up and down. You want to give it a try, Mike? Ready? 5 lines at the bottom. Everybody together. Vayomar. You don't get too many chances in the Torah. It's only 4 times. 4 times. So now, what did we say by Lot? Remember we had it by Lot, that it said Lot was delaying. Vayismama. When the angel said, "Get out of here." What did that indicate?
That he was crying.
He wasn't too happy about it. Eliezer says a prayer, and he's saying the prayer. There seems to be like this little bit of hesitation on his prayer. Why? He's got a daughter who he wants to marry Avraham Avinu. To make this, he's on this mission, but he's still got this hope. But he says a prayer. Now, what is the prayer? Vayomar Hashem Elokei Adoni Avraham. Hakrena lefanayim. Make it happen today. V'asei Chesed im Adoni Avraham. Do an act of kindness with my master. Hine anochi nitzav aleina mayim. I'm by the water. Ubnos ansheir yotzos lishamayim. The daughters, the girls are coming out to draw water. I'm looking for a sign. The young lady who I say, tilt the bucket towards me, the jug, and I will drink. Ve'amra shesei, and then she responds, drink. Ve'gam gemalecha ashke, drink, and I will also give to your camels. Osa hochachta lavdecha liYitzchak. That's the one you have proven is for Yitzchak. Uvaidaki esisa chesed imadi. And then I'll know you've done kindness. I mean, that's a heck of a way to do a shidduch. Hi, what's your young lady? Can I have a drink? Sure. And is there some for your camel too? Mazel tov, mazel tov, mazel tov. You're the one for my master's son. That's how you close a shidduch. I mean, that's it. What are her qualities? She gives people to drink. Great drink. A great what do you call it? A great bartender. She gives people a good. What's going on? What's going on? What's he looking for? One sign that we're looking for in a Jewish girl. What is it? Chesed. Kindness. We're looking for kindness. That's all we're looking for. That's the sign. Doesn't say anything about a degree. Doesn't say anything about. We'll see when you go into the subtleties of how the back and forth goes. Because see, he said, I want the girl who's going to say, I'll give you to drink and to your camels. Now look, we're skipping ahead, but look what Rivka says. We're going to go into it tomorrow. But look what Rivka says. Take a look at Pasuk Yud Ches. He sees her. We'll get there tomorrow, but I just want to show you this now so you can compare and contrast. If you look on page 112, Pasuk Yud Ches, it's 6 lines from the top. 7 lines from the top. 1 second, Alicia. So he says to her, give me to drink. He finally sees her. First, the tefillah, the prayer was what he's hoping for this. He sees her, we'll talk about it tomorrow, but then she says to him, Vatomer shisei adoni. She says, drink. Vatemahir vatored kado al yadeh. Then she takes down the jug and she gives him the drink. Vatechal lashko. So after he drinks, Vatomer gamli gemalecha eshav. I'll also give to your camels. Now remember, he wanted her to say, I'll give you to drink and your camels. What did she do? She said, I'll give you to drink, and she gave him to drink. Then she said, and I'll give your camels. Now, there are different opinions why she did that. But he sees in that tremendous tact. Why? Because if you come to my house, what's your dog's name?
Shoko.
Shoko? Okay, you knock on my door, and I say, come on in, Dave, I'll give you and the dog something to eat. So what have I just done?
You put them on the same.
Put him in the same category as the dog. If she would say, come on, I'll give you and the camels something to drink. Oh, him and the camels. He's a camel. Camels, they're the same level. What does she do? She does it much more. And that's what he asked for. And what does she do? She says, I'll give you to drink, and she gives him the drink. Once he finishes drinking, then she says, now I'll give the camels. But we'll see there are other reasons why she broke it up that way. We'll see. Okay, we'll see tomorrow, Me'aras Hashem.